Why you should write tests first by Uncle Bob. What's this? Hello, I'm Chris Tess. I'm a KMP developer, tech support. So they're coming out for that. We're gonna do a react to this Uncle Bob, my favorite guy to skewer. What is that? Let's get that over there. That's fine. Okay, I don't know. I got a little pop up here. Let's respond to Uncle Bob. I've already pre-liked this. I love Dev Tools Made Simple. I love these little quips. But Uncle Bob has the best rhetoric, but he like it seems like he's just very knowledgeable about all kinds of things. But the thing is, he doesn't show his code. He doesn't show his apps. We don't know if they're good or bad or successful or not. But he knows how to collect ideas. He's definitely a software developer. He's done development, so I'll give him that. But he collects ideas and then he puts them together in a book form, explains them, pontificates on them, and makes it seem like he was the prognosticator. Now, he lets you think that, but if you nail him down, he'll eventually tell you, yeah, no, this is all stuff that was just around at the time that everyone was kind of doing, and this is like the top 5 things that people were like confused about, and some of the proposed solutions, some of the things that other people came up with, not him. And he needed to put it into a book form, and he needed to do a listicle at the time. It was like, and he needed an acronym, and he needed to have a real good acronym that really sent the point home. And he came up with this on his own, but he came up with solid. He needed the L, so he put the Liskov principle in there, which it seems like it's an odd thing to throw in there. This is why, because the L. He didn't know it was going to blow up. He kind of thought it might. And he saw the conference circuit, and he saw the stuff that they were pushing and what the quality was. He says, I could do that. And he's got the gift of gab. So let's get into this. Let's see what he has to say.
How many of you have written unit tests after the fact?
I mean, I'm a UI developer, so if you're gonna be doing KMP and Android, a lot of that work is UI work. So yeah, we're gonna write the code first, guy. And now, see, this is the thing about Bob. He doesn't really give the nuance, right? Because maybe he doesn't know it, he doesn't understand it, maybe he's never done it. But there's this thing called front end and back end, and they're quite different about their approaches. Now, if you're doing back end code and you're not writing a test first, you're just causing yourself difficulty. Like, you do have a set of inputs and you have a set of outputs that is expected. So after you kind of get through it and done a few of these, like, you kind of want to you want to say, okay, I know I got this thing coming in, this thing coming out. You might want to hand roll that stuff, or you've already written the code a little bit and you've got the overall plan. Now you need to do more of it. So that's the cases where you want to write tests, but most people don't write tests right off the bat. I mean, you might, but no, it's usually we got something and then we're rewriting it. And in the rewrite, yes, we're going to put tests in there. We're going to rearrange everything, put everything together. Well, all the times people have the first draft, right? And they go, we need to put this in production today because we have to get it out there to survive to next quarter or get to show some sort of result so we don't get our funding cut. So that's been most of the time. That's what happens is people write the code, and then when we're they hire a team because we need to get tests done. We have bugs all over the place. We can't figure out what's going wrong, and that's what they try and do. They add the test. That's been a very normal thing. So if you can get to the place where you're surviving on this whatever thing you're doing, where you're doing a rewrite, yes, tests should go first. But getting the thing going that needs to happen, I'm not sure. I mean, yes, tests are handy, like in Fred's Road Trip Storyteller. That's how I did all the I/O, but I kind of had to do it by eye first. So you have to go in there and figure out what part of the code, what part of this HTML needs to be extracted, what piece of it needs to be extracted. You kind of do a little trial and error. I've never seen anybody go in there perfect. Even the guys that do show the TDD, they don't do it perfect every time. They gotta tweak stuff, move around stuff. It's yeah, so the TDD is a little bit extra. But on the back end stuff, I do see where you have to kind of need to do that at some point. But on the front end, after the fact, after we have a solid release, and yeah, then we do the happy path testing stuff. But man, and then having to go update all that stuff, you have to be very careful about how you write those tests. The screenshot testing has gotten a little bit better, but that just came back. That was just available last year, or this past year. So he doesn't talk about the front end people, so I'm a little bit perturbed about that. Let's keep going.
How much fun is that?
I mean,
it's not fun. Why isn't it fun?
But it's a job. They pay for it. People pay good money to have those tests done after the fact? So let's keep going.
Because you already know the code works. You tested it manually. So why are you writing those unit tests after the fact?
Because we're having failures for the edge conditions that we didn't think about, or didn't understand, and didn't fully flesh out, because we had to get the thing to market, because we had to get funding, and I had a job, a full-time job, and I was doing this in the part-time, and I didn't have time to do all that other stuff, man. That's how I got the funding to get this thing going. That's why that's why I'm talking to you, because we need to go back and make this thing more robust. And the first plan is we got a lot of money in that source code, a lot of time in that source code. Can we fix up the source code? And the answer is usually, yeah, we're going to do that. But the better answer is like, no, we're going to use that as a guide, and we're going to rewrite it with this team of people, so everyone's involved with understanding how everything's put together. We're going to do all the engineering practices, and we're going to make sure we're not going to be rushed. We're not going to be rushed in this process. We're going to take our time and do things solidly, because you've obviously got some business model that seems to be working or is going to work, or you've got enough people involved that think it's going to work, that you can put the time into it to make it so it's solid. Like, these are Bob. Do you understand, Uncle Bob? Have you understand the business conditions, or you just get hired on when you don't have to worry about somebody else has figured that stuff out, Uncle Bob, and you don't have to worry about it. You just come in, let's do the test first. Like, yeah, test first when we got a business, some sort of good customers. Yeah, we can do that. But until customers come, I mean, you got to find something that people want. And if you have to cut time to writing tests, so you can make sure you can pivot or change something up without having to go through massive amounts of pain and rigmarole, and you might miss the opportunity because you're dicking around with tests that are fragile and broken, and it's not the time for that yet. It's like, this is okay. Keep going.
Somebody told me I had to.
Well, yeah, that's usually why you get hired.
And so now you get into kind of passive-aggressive mode, and even if you're really conscientious, you think, okay, I'll write this test. Yeah, I knew that would work because I tested it manually. Write this test, yeah, that one worked too. And
I love how Tools Made Simple adds this random code in. Random code here with this like sorting algorithm thing.
Inevitably, you will come across the code that's
I'm so sorry for the mess.
hard to test. It's hard to test because you did not design it to be testable. You weren't thinking about that when you wrote the code.
Right.
So now all of a sudden you've got a problem, because in order to test this function,
but we have a solution, right? The fact that we're talking to you now with Bob, where he got involved. Somebody found a thing that he got customers. Somebody got investors that see that they can get customers. Or he found a customer and he's bootstrapping it. And now you're getting involved because he's a battle hardened it, because he's now need to scale this thing because he just got funding. What are you talking about? That's why you're employed. Come on.
You're going to have to decouple something or break some dependency or restructure the code. And you look at your watch and you think, come on, I already know this code works. And you walk away. And you leave a hole in the test suite. Remember when I said you got to...
What does that mean? How do you even know where the hole... these test suites are like asymptotic, where you're never going to get complete. It'll always be approaching. And where do you have to the cutoff? Well, how much time do you have to spend on this stuff, Bob? What kind of companies you working for with these unlimited budgets? Is this government operations? Should we get Doge in there? Like, what's going on with your companies?
Trust that button. You just left a hole in the test suite. And you know, if you are leaving a hole in the test suite, everybody else is leaving holes in the test.
But it's a hole, buddy. He doesn't define what these are. So this is like the rhetoric stuff, which is really fascinating, because this entire video he's doing here is a major sales pitch for his courses, and we'll bring in your team and train them up on our solid principles.
Test suite too. And that leaves you with a test suite.
And what happens after that? They come, okay, we got solid principles. We're doing test-driven development. Everything's going great. But okay, we're still stuck. Now what? Well, we can bring you in for a refresher course. That's like, where's the studies, Uncle Bob, that demonstrate that you're solid? If you're applied to other people who never heard of solid, just have another maybe adventure driven or some other style of programming, how the comparison, the two. Has there been any of those things where people are using solid, where they're not, they're just using something else, maybe Cupid? Any comparisons? No, never heard of it. This guy's been shilling this for 15 years, and no one's asked for any freaking studies that show that his stuff actually works. No, just sales. All right, here we go.
That executes just fine. But when
we don't have any idea what this guy's code looks like. We have no idea if his applications work. We have no idea. He just puts uses bloviates and rhetoric and sales pitches and meeting objections and all this stuff. That's look at that. It looks very impressive. 100% code coverage. Like, dude, missing the point. code coverage. So this kind of stuff is so easy to calculate, but it means nothing. That's the thing that's fucked up. It means nothing.
Passes, your reaction is, huh, yeah, it passed.
Your reaction? No, that's your reaction. Don't put that on me. Wait, is it my reaction? No, that's not what I'm thinking, buddy. That's not what I'm thinking at all.
Doesn't mean anything because you know there's holes in it.
I mean, yes, but what do you mean? What is a hole? How asymptotically close do you want to get to 100? How much time do you want? Because every asymptotically, every 0.1% more, it's like trying to hit the speed of light. It's going to require more and more energy. So you need all the energy in the universe to get over that little hump. Where's the cutoff? You just use solid principles. They'll tell you where the cutoff is.
That does not allow you to make a decision when it passes is a useless test suite. Oh, it might help you sometimes if you break something, but most of the time, you're going to run that test suite and it's going to pass, and you will know that that doesn't mean anything because you know there are holes in the test suite.
I've had all kinds of people at all kinds of tests. A lot of these tests are redoing or doing over the same thing, or testing out the database. Are you testing the data that's being stored? Like, what are you actually testing here? It's like, yeah, well, that's just kind of industry standard. Yeah, we just make sure we do CRUD operations and that make sure the database works. So you're testing the database layer? Like, what are you doing here? Like, I mean, an application, like, what are you actually doing here? So I've had a lot of test suites are like, what is the point of this test? Like, the real point of a test is like happy path. What is this library supposed to do? What is this function supposed to do? Happy path. This is how it's supposed to work with it. These given these inputs, these are the correct outputs, this is success, blah, blah, blah. And then you have unhappy path, which, yeah, it could be a lot of things. Every time you find some little edge case bug. And that's why it's like, maybe we should rewrite this, not have so many unhappy paths. We're not have the error cases of all the damn things, of a billion error cases. Like, and so, like, you can never cover all the error cases. That's the thing. This is this halting problem we've all heard about. You don't know when it's going to die or where or when. You can try and cover the most unhappy cases, or just have the happy cases be running and just be notified when, hey man, this happy thing didn't run for some reason. We don't know why. And then it takes a human to go in there, because AI is not going to go in there for this kind of. I don't know if an AI is ever going to be this bug fixing machine. It's going to have a human that kind of understands how the engine's put together. Even the self-diagnostic on a motors is a very contained thing. He still is going to have a human go in there and look. Oh, look, there's a moth in the air intake, and the sensors wasn't going to pick up. Oh, moth air intake. It just says air O2 error.
You cannot trust it. You should think of the test suite like a parachute. How many holes do you want in that parachute?
That's a bad comparison.
When you write the tests first, following the 3 laws, something else happens.
The 3 laws. Oh, see, look, more sales pitching. Oh, you got to find out the 3 laws, evaluate the 3 laws. They have classes so you can understand the 3 laws. We have trainings for your software developers to come in, week-long trainings. We'll fly them to Miami, bring them into the corporate office, do a week-long training, and they'll have the 3 laws.
Happens. First of all, it's fun. No, I don't mean it's like roaring fun.
Fun for who? It's just work. I don't know why we have to have this whole fun layer. The fun is like actually putting these things into production and seeing people use it. If you don't think that's fun, then you're in the wrong thing. Because the coding part is kind of a pain in the dick. It's always been a pain in the dick. And that's not the fun part. It's like, I like hammering. Hammering is fun. Look at me, I'm a hammerer. No, fun is making a house that people that you sell, and then you go do whatever the hell you want with that money. And somebody lives in the house, they like the house, they love it, they tell all their friends about it, how it's amazing, how all these little features, blah blah blah, you put in there. That's the part that's fun for them. This is for them. Like, a lot of these things that features people want on these applications, I could care less about. Even these applications, like, man, I don't know. But I have the skill, and I like to help people with their problems, like figure out their issue with this tool set I've been developing over time. It's like it's not the only way to solve problems. But I'm not enamored with it. Like, like hammering. No, I like to build and stuff. Here we keep going.
But you do,
and that's not always fun. Because hammers, even though they might think they're the most funny thing, they'll bash you in the freaking thumb. If you're not paying attention, they'll bust open your finger and make you bleed. Like, ow! Is that part fun? No. And that's a very parallel to software development. When you're finding bugs or you did something, some new update comes out, you have to go through the Gradle and figure out which version codes are compatible with this latest thing that busted your whole pipeline. That's not fun, is it?
At this lovely little experience of writing something that fails and then making it pass.
Okay,
and every time you make a test pass, there's a little shot of endorphins in the back of your brain. Yeah.
Who cares about the fail pass? He puts so much emphasis. I was gonna make it fail first, then you make it pass. It's like, no, I'm gonna set this thing up to pass first. I know what he's saying. You should make sure it's like some no case, but you can get that anyway. You can get that anyway. Just make it so. Just the whole thing. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna do a whole compilation cycle and to run the test. I'm wasting time. I know. I'm gonna run through my happy path first, and like see how that stuff works, and then put some unhappy path in there, and see things break where I expected them to break. Not this fail first. It's like that's not useful, man.
You watch a
you should have upgraded fail first by now. Fail first was amazing back in 2006. Ooh, amazing! But today it's not amazing. You're actually kind of pushing people off into this other direction where they get into sales, your sales funnel.
Pair programmers, two guys working at a terminal, and they're making test pass and writing tests that fail. Every time they make a test pass, boom, little oh yeah, no, there's always some little gesture. You know, yeah, I'm a programmer. I got an if statement to work. So there's this.
Wow. Ooh. Like, what are you talking? I was like, he's a goofball.
Element of fun to it that you don't get with unit testing after the.
No, the fun part. I mean, there are elements of time when you get some working on some bug and it starts to work where you're like, fuck yeah! It's like getting a motor to run right. Like you get a motor like I don't know. You don't know what's wrong. It could be a fuel system. It could be electrical system. It could be spark plug. But going through the damn process, it sucks, man. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people like racing the thing. I kind of drive the car around. I want to sit in my park. I'm doing puzzles all the damn time. That's not my idea of fun. But I guess some people is like that's like maybe his idea of fun is cranking on the wrenches and all that stuff. It is. I mean, there are parts of it that are enjoyable. But if you have to get this thing out the door, and people are pressuring you because they got to go to work on Monday, and you're supposed to solve this thing a week ago, yeah, that's not so fun.
But more important than that, you cannot write the code that's hard to test. If you write the test first, you cannot write the code that's hard to test. Right? Because
okay, I mean, there is a point to that, but he's talking about back-end stuff, so it's like very input-output type of things. So it's like, and yeah, there are parts of the code that still are hard to test that are interfaced with the system. So I get what he's saying here, and that is a good point to write it so you can have test it first. But a lot of times it's more important to get something running and operational, and then we rewrite it so it's testable, as opposed to doing the double thing of making it testable and we're writing it the first time. It's like a double cognitive load, which is not necessary. I don't think it's necessary, and he skips over that. I think what he's talking about is like when we go to production, when you've gone off your beta, your alpha, beta, MVP, and you're ready to go to production, you should be using these packages. I'm like, yeah, okay. But you already kind of know what you're doing. So the cognitive load of what we're doing and how we're doing it, that's been reduced to almost like zero, because we're going to rewrite what we're already doing, which is a clusterfuck, and we're going to put all this testing stuff in there as we rewrite with the thing we already know. So that's a different cognitive load, right? We got the cognitive load of figuring the fucking thing out, and then there's the cognitive load of like making sure the thing's solid. We can separate those are separate things. We don't have to do them at the same time. We shouldn't even try to do them at the same time. It's kind of unrealistic. It's not how things are made anyway. So it's kind of a little bit lying about how these things are actually done. Maybe he's not pulled into the process at that point. Maybe he's the guy that comes in. It's like, oh, you already have the idea, so we can put the testing. He assumes the idea, getting the idea nailed down is like the easy part, and this is the hard part. It's like, no, dude, no, the other way around. Like, figuring out what we should do with what we're doing and how we achieve customer base that pays our bills. Yeah, that's the important part. Once we got that going, yes, the second most important part is making sure we're solid in production. Let's keep going.
The test first, and that means you're designing the code to be testable. Wow. And there's another word for testable code. It's called decoupled, because that's how you make testable code.
Well, is that how? Is that the only way? How is it better by decoupling? See, it's like he puts these quips out there. It's like he just do this, just do that, and people are like, oh, okay, so we have to take this massively complicated thing that has a lot to do with taste and what are we testing? Why? So these are things that are more important over here to make sure we nail down, and this can slide. How do you make those decisions? No, just here's the list. the little step by steps, SOLID. It's like it's more complicated than that, man. And that's the part that people are having a hard time with. It's not this stuff you're gonna figure out kind of on your own. You just make sure it's decoupled. But I guess in 2002, when people still were just trying to get some of these things to work and weren't even capable of being tested in any way, or it's just not set up that way, or we just the people came along and they found a solution. Now we gotta backwardsly figure out how to test this thing. Yeah, there was a lot of that going on at the time. So, but that's not been that way for a long time, and I don't know. He just keeps repeating stuff and not updating his message. Maybe he's just an old man.
code. You make it decoupled. So the very act of writing the test first forces you to decouple things that you never thought to decouple before. Now, all of these things.
I mean, you have to design a system, but to get the system, they have to have a system that you're designed that has some value for customers. So he doesn't talk about that part. He never talks about that part. He always comes in after that part's done. It's like, yeah, well, yeah, man. Make it and then redesigning it so it's testable. Yeah, okay, that's a challenge, but it's not like the finding out what to do. That's a whole separate thing. He's like, see, he's like blends those things together. He doesn't actually. Maybe he doesn't know the difference. These are like two different, really different type of engineering practices. One is exploring a space of possibilities for solutions, and one is refining that solution so it's battle hardened. Those are really different disciplines.
These are good. And, they're good benefits. We like those benefits. It's fun. You get good documentation out of it. It reduces your debug time. All these stupid 3 laws that you really don't want to do really have a profound effect. But the most profound effect is that button and the fact that you trust it. And if you trust that button, all the effects that we talked about
Talks about a testing button.
in the last hour come to you.
If you trust your tests, all your tests are going to be running. Yes. Eventually, that becomes a thing where you're going to want the test to do the happy path and the unhappy paths you've discovered or already know about, or things that can go wrong, right? That you care about, and that's all like so subjective and like. And he makes it seem like just do the step by step. That's the part that's annoying to me. He's taking away the nuance. He's being very heavy-handed with his approach. It's like, where's the nuance, man? You gotta have the nuance, or just bring it up that that's a part of it. And maybe he's just not aware of it. I don't know. Give me a like and subscribe, and go give those guys like and subscribe, and I'll put the link in the deedly do below.